Welcome to Super Rant Season 1 Doomsday Preppers. Here we rewatch superhero movies to explore how they build towards bigger stories, starting with Avengers Doomsday and the MCU. Welcome to Super Rant. This is the show where we watch movies as we look to other movies, starting with Avengers Doomsday at the end of this year. My name is Brian, and I am happy to be here.
My name's Kevin. I'm a lead writer for Screen Rant, covering superheroes, Star Wars, and a ton of other fun stuff.
Today we are looking at Iron Man 3, which came out in 2013 and is the first movie to happen after the original Avengers movie. So let's jump in, let's get to it, and let's start with Kevin. What is your favorite moment from this movie?
Favorite moment, I think just collectively, I think this movie works a lot better as an epilogue to the Avengers than it does as like a trilogy ender, if that makes sense. I think it's strongest when it deals with Avengers stuff. And I mean, obviously there's just so much more Iron Man that comes after this, and like I feel like it's maybe not as conclusive as it could have been. Or it tries to be and it doesn't exactly stick the landing.
Sure, I think that makes sense.
There's a
but
great
you didn't answer the question.
Well, there's a great
What's
line.
Your favorite moment?
There's a great line at the very beginning where Pepper comes home and he's still in his workshop and he says, you know, you experience things and then they're over and you still can't explain it. And he's freaking out. He says, you know, I'm just a man in a can and I'm dealing with gods and magic and aliens, and you know, how does as a genius like him, who's always been kind of on top of everything and how the world works, like how does he process and handle that and things that he still can't explain? And I think it's just a great place to put Tony Stark in. So I think that's one of my favorite scenes of just like, okay, this sets the stage pretty well of like where Iron Man is at post Avengers. I really like that scene a lot.
Yeah, I think that's a solid. I think that's a solid pick. For me, I think my favorite moment is just at the end with all the different armors, and he's using their different abilities, and it's showcasing how he has, you know, created different armors for different circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're as nerdy as I am, you can go and you can read about all the different armors,
Figure out which one's which.
Things that they do. And so I just love that scene personally as somebody who loves Iron Man and loves Iron Man armors.
Yeah, can't go wrong with the Iron Legion. I love it.
Yeah, it's great. But I have some questions for you, things that I was thinking about as we were watching. The first one, and this one's kind of just like, oh, like, do you think this could connect? Do you think that this is a possibility? You know, like, so when Killian and Pepper are meeting at the beginning of the movie, they're looking at, you know, his big brain and all that, and they're talking about the empty slot, and he's saying what this tells us is we're meant to be upgraded.
Yeah.
Do you think that at any level we could, like, I'm not saying that they planned this, I'm not saying that anybody's even ever thought of it, but like that could have been in reference to the fact that, like, with like Eternals and stuff like that, or like being like created beings in the, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like I had a thought like, oh, like these are upgraded people,
like,
know?
if it's some kind of foreshadowing,
like,
for like, you know, because we get into like powers and all that with like
the
and twins,
with like
and
Inhumans and
the
the
Maximoffs,
Terrigenesis,
yeah,
or mutants, and you know,
I mean,
being able
maybe
to like access your powers.
Maybe. I mean, it's all also just very connected to the whole Extremis idea in the comics. So it might have just been kind of more based on the comic source material than anything else, but it's not a bad idea of just kind of like some nice retroactive, like, headcanon or whatever you want to call it. But no, yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. Okay, second question. That one was more just like I had a thought. I was I want to ask him about that because I want to know if he had ever heard about anything. But second question, this is more on brand. This is in reference to Doomsday, okay?
Okay.
So, that scene that you were talking about earlier where, you know, Tony's saying, I'm just a man in a can, and he was saying, you know, like, the one thing that keeps him grounded is Pepper.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you hadn't moved in, who knows where I would have been, that whole thing.
Sure, yeah.
we've talked a lot about like, oh, what could be the thing that causes Doom to become Doom in Doomsday.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about, oh, what if he was never, like what if his parents died earlier? What if he did this? What if he did that? What if he didn't have Pepper in his universe? And that's why Tony Stark becomes Doctor Doom, because he's so concerned with the doom of planet Earth that he goes overboard in his over preparation, similar to how Tony Stark went overboard with Ultron.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like it. It's a good theory. It's just as good as anything else in that idea of like that assumption that this will be like a version of Tony Stark who becomes Doctor Doom. Again, it's hard to know kind of what the plan is for RDJ's Doom. They've used his full name like Victor Von Doom, so that's led people to believe
Right.
maybe it's just like a legit. But again, it's like looking like Tony Stark will likely play a factor somehow. But like let's just stick with that line of thought, which is it is a Tony Stark who went bad. Yeah,
Right, because I couldn't
not having Pepper's a
I
great
couldn't
reason.
imagine Doctor Doom not being connected to Tony Stark because they cast Robert Downey.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, then again, maybe they're just thinking it'd be really cool to bring him back somehow, and Doctor Doom is a character who 95% of the time you don't see his face. So I don't know. I honestly, it could go either way, but it's like it'd be very odd if they don't use the fact that he looks like Tony Stark or there's some sort of multiversal connection like where he's a variant, because that's been like everything about their multiverse stories is
Well,
variants.
yeah,
So yeah,
and
no,
that's
yeah,
what I'm getting at.
that's definitely a good point. I have a fun question for you.
Okay.
uh does Iron Man 3 enter your like Christmas movie rotation during the holidays?
I mean, not typically. Um, See, I'm the type of guy. I don't really watch a lot of Christmas movies, just because like I've seen so many of the same ones. There's a couple that I'll watch over and over again. Like the Jim Carrey Grinch is up there.
Oh yeah.
Um, Honestly, and I might get hate for this, I think Elf is way overplayed at this point. I think it's hilarious and I think it's really funny, but it's just I get so burnt out on it.
Yeah, I mean, some like Christmas movies will
Um,
exit my rotation, but I mean, I guess this is more the question of kind of like Die Hard, like is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
which I mean, like yes, like in the sense that like it gets you into like a holiday mindset. I don't know if it counts as like a Christmas movie, but yeah, it does take place in the Christmas
Yeah, it ends on Christmas
time.
Day. They play some Christmas tracks. There's Christmas decorations everywhere. I was just thinking about it because, like, they've done some things that are even more like heavy on Christmas, like the Hawkeye show, or even like the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. And I'm like, nah, Iron Man should be kind of in that grouping too, for at least for Marvel fans.
Yeah, I mean, like he gets Pepper the present, and people are celebrating Christmas in other places in the
Mm-hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
But it's just I don't know. It's not one that I'm like when December comes around. I'm like, oh, it's time to watch Iron
Right.
Man
Yeah.
3.
Yeah. I just thought
But
it was
I wouldn't if it came on during December. Like if I was watching TV and I was flipping through channels and it came on, I'd be like, oh yeah, Iron Man's a Christmas movie. I'll watch it. You know what I mean?
yeah. What are your so in this
Okay,
one?
here's my fun question.
Okay, fine. You
Can I
go.
ask a fun question?
Yeah, you go.
In this movie, so not overall in the MCU, but just in this movie, which armor is your favorite?
Oh man. What's the what's the big one that holds the rig up? Igor.
Igor.
I
Yeah.
love that one. I wish we had seen that more elsewhere, but then, it kind of gets overshadowed by like the
Yeah.
Hulkbuster and Ultron, but I thought it was a really cool design.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was a cool design.
Yeah.
For me, it's the Mark 39, the space armor, which only gets a couple shots. You don't really get to see it,
Is it the one that's
but
all
it's
it's like
that
all gray?
it's all white and gray. Yeah, and it looks like an
Yeah.
astronaut. But that one's really cool. I really like that one
that's
a
a
lot
fun
because
one.
that one I think just is really sleek. It has a great design. It stands out
Yeah.
from the rest.
You
'Cause it's
know,
not like
you
the
know the
typical.
armors, you know the armors better than I do. Which is the one that has like the big yellow turbine, like pistons on either arm?
Oh, that one is.
I mean, either way, it's really cool.
It's got like the jackhammers on it, right?
Yeah, kind of.
That is Striker, and I think that's Mark 25.
Crazy. There's so many. That's awesome.
Yeah, and then there's other ones that don't even really make it in the movie, but they made a whole list of them. So I think it was the Iron Man 3 video game. You can go through and look at the entire list of them.
Oh, okay. And then they list
so
them
there's
all.
like Hot
Right.
Rod, and there's like Disco Stealth or something like that. And they have numbered them all through 42.
Yeah, that's awesome. Iron Patriot.
Yep. Interesting choice for this movie.
Very different from the Iron Patriot in the comics, which is actually Norman Osborn, the former Green Goblin, when he tries to do his whole he takes over Shield, turns into Hammer, and then they also do like Dark Avengers where they're like posing as the Avengers. And I always found it interesting that they went with this Iron Patriot decision because it's like you want to, Marvel has that. They frequently will change up suits and they will do different costumes for different characters, and Iron Man's perfect for this because it's a perfect way to sell more toys and merch and all that. But I think the Iron Patriot thing is so interesting because the switch from War Machine to Iron Patriot in this movie, it gets bashed, like in universe, in the movie itself. Like no one really likes it beyond like the focus groups who thought War Machine was too aggressive or whatever it is that Rhodey says. But
well, yeah, like they specifically go out of their way to like kind of make fun of it.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, honestly, I think it's a great design. I think it's awesome.
It's cool looking. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they would bring it in there just to kind of play it for laughs.
Kind of dunk on it. Yeah.
An iconic. It is such an iconic thing in the comics.
Yeah.
If you've read the comics.
Well, yeah. I mean, I remember before the movie came out, like all the websites were freaking out and rumors like, oh, does this mean Norman Osborn's going to be in it? And people were, going crazy because of the comics and what the implications might have been. But
right.
Yeah. No, it's I always find it interesting. And then like they kind of bring out a different version of the Iron Patriot suit in Endgame. But in between that, like he goes back to War Machine, which, I think I actually prefer. But yeah, it just kind of made me think about that.
So this takes me into an interesting line of thought, the kind of like play it for laughs thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the big criticism of this movie has always been the Mandarin.
Oh yeah.
And Trevor Slattery and playing him for laughs and having him be a misdirect and kind of misusing the Mandarin character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for like basically just a twist, a really good twist, but
right. And it's interesting to talk about this now because Wonder Man just came out when we get even more Trevor Slattery.
Yeah,
and if you haven't seen Wonder Man is a phenomenal show.
It's incredibly good.
It's already been picked up for a second season.
Yeah,
it's it's really, really good, and it's outside of the box in terms of what Marvel is used to.
Mm-hmm. Very unique, very character driven.
Do you think that your attitude towards Trevor Slattery in this movie has shifted now?
Yeah, I mean, here's kind of my conclusion, and I kind of came to this conclusion after Wonder Man, but even a little bit after Shang-Chi, because he shows up in Shang-Chi as well.
Right.
Because we come to find out that after this movie, he becomes the prisoner of the real Mandarin, which is Shang-Chi's father. But my thought process is this. It was horrible then. But Marvel has since made it well worth it now because of the opportunity that they've given Ben Kingsley and his character as Trevor Slattery. Like, it has since paid off quite a bit since 2013. But at the time, I think it very much deserved the controversy and the criticism that it got, because the Mandarin is a really cool, like he's a one of the classic Iron Man villains. And so people were expecting like, oh, this is Iron Man's nemesis, you know.
Well, and if you go and read the comics though, it's like there are other Iron Man villains that are just as, if not more, prevalent to his character than Mandarin.
I mean, yeah.
And and so like at the time there was a lot of uproar over it, but like you could also tell that that was kind of just like internet being the internet and just finding an argument. But yeah, definitely nowadays it's easier to look back with kinder eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And watching this movie, that twist actually makes a lot of sense and it's done very well.
Yeah, yeah.
And Ben Kingsley does a phenomenal job playing both the Mandarin and Trevor Slattery.
Yeah, and making them feel extremely different. And again, like it's a brilliant twist. It's really well done, and I think it's one of the stronger executions of the story that doesn't necessarily have to do with like Avengers Fallout.
Yeah.
But kind of like I said,
Well,
it's like
it's
as far as the franchise as a whole, Marvel didn't pay it off or redeem it quite well until like Shang-Chi and now with Wonder Man.
right. And I mean like it's not done. The twist doesn't happen at the cost of the movie.
Yeah.
It works really well in the context of this movie.
Sure.
It progresses the story. It gives it gives us a new direction to shift our attention for the third act. It's really cool. It's really well done.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One of the last things I wanted to talk about was Harley. Do you remember his last name? The kid that helps Iron Man?
Oh, I don't know his last name.
Okay. I couldn't remember it for the life of me, but I thought he was a good inclusion. I really liked the chemistry and the back and forth that they had. It almost feels kind of like a precursor to what we get with Iron Man and Spider-Man. I wish they had done more with him, and maybe it was because of Spider-Man that they didn't. But
Oh,
I was
who
curious.
knows?
I was curious what your thought. Like, did you like Harley? Do you also wish they had done a little bit more with the kid? I mean, he shows up at Tony Stark's funeral in Endgame, but like that's it.
Well, and if we really want to get into it, and if we really want to be nerdy, do they not also mention him in Disneyland now?
Yes, in the Spider-Man ride with Webb, it's the Worldwide Engineering Brigade, which is what they call like that whole facility where the ride is in, and he's mentioned there as like one of the members of the think tank. But I mean,
that's technically
yeah.
To push up my nerd glasses, that's technically another dimension.
Yeah, it's like an MCU adjacent, so that they can keep having whatever characters they want walk around the park and all that jazz. But as far as movies and shows, it's this, and then it's the one shot of him in Endgame. And I just wish they had done more, like make him like I mean, Iron
cool
Iron Lad or something like that.
Cool character. They could have done more, but ultimately, they we talked about this in the last episode. They, at the end of Avengers with the post-credit scenes and all that, they were kind of just saying, oh, let's throw Thanos out there and let's see what happens. Right? Let's see if we can get this Infinity Saga to work. And by the time that Iron Man 3 rolls around, it's not like they've had that totally finalized yet.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly by like Thor 2, which we'll talk about next week, maybe they do. And so in this time frame, they're still kind of finalizing what they want to do, how they want to do it, what steps they need to take to get there. And just in the process of that, Harley just gets left behind, which is unfortunate, but I think probably necessary so that we could focus on other stories like Spider-Man, like Civil War.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Okay, I got one more question, and then we'll look at wrapping up for today.
Sure.
So I think in the third act we get some really cool Tony and Rhodey dynamics, and where we see them like working together.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And we don't actually get that a lot in the MCU. We get it a little bit in Age of Ultron when they're taking out drones. And
Yeah.
then we get it a little bit more in Civil War when they're tag teaming uh, different people in Civil War.
Hmm.
But beyond that, there's not really much else.
Yeah. No,
Um,
that's a good point. Yeah.
and also, any interaction that Tony and Rhodey had after Civil War wasn't actually Rhodey.
Supposedly, I mean, all the evidence points to Rhodey's entire arc being wildly different than we thought because of Secret Invasion and getting
Right.
replaced by.
But
Yeah.
the point that I'm wanting to make is I want to see more Rhodey and Tony. Because
Yeah.
that scene at the end where they're like they're working together, they know each other well enough to like just hop into a battle and like rely on each other. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. No, definitely.
And we still what's the latest on the Armor Wars movie?
Yeah. So I actually, it's funny you bring that up. I did an Armor Wars post, kind of like what's going on, what's Marvel's plan. I did a post on that not too long ago, like last week maybe. It was originally going to be a show. They then decided to redevelop it into a movie, but I think when they announced that it was 2022. Supposedly it's
Right.
still in development. It hasn't been canceled. At this point, it's probably releasing after Secret Wars if it releases at all.
Oh, well,
Um,
if it comes out, if it were to come out before Secret Wars, wouldn't it need to come out next year?
yeah, assuming Secret Wars holds 2027 date. I mean, it's possible they might need to push. But yeah, no,
But
it would
it's
definitely need to be. Yeah, you're right. It would definitely need to be after at
we
this
would have
point.
further updates on it by now if it was going to
Yeah,
come out
yeah.
next year.
But hopefully we,
But that would be really cool.
it
And maybe they
happens to
do
begin,
like
in the first place.
maybe they do like the AI Tony Stark thing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
And
based
maybe
upon
instead of giving that to Ironheart, they give it to War Machine.
yeah, no, I mean, yes, that could be really cool. Or even just like leaving a message specifically for Rhodey.
Yeah.
Because if you
Well,
think
and
about the the Armor Wars story from the comics, it's a lot about protecting the legacy of Iron Man and Tony Stark's legacy.
Right.
So you could easily see that being kind of the main focus with War Machine trying to, protect the suits, protect the technology, trying to make up for not being around if they decide to keep going with the implications of Secret Invasion. So I could see a cool flashback, especially now that Armor Wars is like a movie.
Well, yeah, and there are things that I want to see from War Machine.
Oh yeah.
Like after this movie, he gets a couple updates here and there. Like he gets a new armor for Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
I think his Age of Ultron is just a reskin of the Iron Patriot armor, but don't quote me on that. But I know he
That
gets new
sounds
armor
right.
for Civil War with like his hammer thing.
Yeah.
And then at the very end of Endgame, he gets that armor that he basically finds in the basement of Avengers headquarters when it
Oh
blows
yeah,
up.
in the
So whatever.
compound. Yeah.
But I've always wanted to see that ability that he gets in the comics for a while, where he can integrate any machinery into his armor and he
Oh,
becomes a
yeah.
war machine.
Like instant upgrades. Yeah, that'd be really cool.
That's really cool because he does cool things where he takes construction equipment and turns it into a giant mech or incorporates a large gun into the side of his. There's cool things that you can still do with War Machine, and I think Don Cheadle is a big enough actor
Yeah.
that you could make a whole movie around him. It doesn't need to solely rely on the Robert Downey Jr. energy.
100%. 100%.
You could have him in there and throw him in there for some flashbacks or some, messages or whatever. But I think you make Don Cheadle a core player in that movie.
Yeah, I think it just
Or
makes sense.
if not
and
the core player.
he's been around since, 2010 with Iron Man 2, and the character of Rhodey has been around since the very beginning in 2008, and he still hasn't really gotten any kind of solo project. He's always been a supporting character. That's
Yeah.
that's ridiculous to me. And
Well, and is he even gonna be in
no,
Doomsday?
I was going to bring this up. He is not confirmed with the cast at the moment. Like, he could still be in it. Hopefully he's in Secret Wars, but he is not confirmed at this time for Doomsday, which is crazy to me.
That's wild.
Crazy.
Well, and the last we've seen of him is him, waking up from a coma after being kidnapped by Skrulls for what? At least 5 years.
Yeah, I mean, the implication is that he has been replaced by a Skrull since his surgery.
Since Civil War. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which, okay, so if you count the 5 years from Infinity War to Endgame, and you do a couple of years on either side,
Mm-hmm.
that's coming up close
Yeah.
to 8 years probably.
Yeah. The Secret Invasion director was the one who was very much like, yeah, the idea is he got replaced after Civil War. And then you think about, they specifically mentioned, like, you've been here a long time. Like, he was one of the first people that got grabbed by that scroll cell. And he's the only one wearing a hospital gown. Next,
Which
everyone
implies that
else
he
they're
was
wearing
taken
like
from a
normal.
hospital.
Yeah, everyone else they're wearing like normal civilian clothes. So,
Yep.
which is crazy because it means he missed out on Infinity War, he missed out on Endgame, he missed out on the death of his best friend,
Yeah.
which is just crazy. And I think
And so
it's a
to-
weird
to go
decision
to
that
Armor
honestly no
Wars-
one likes, but I hope that Armor Wars would at least see him trying to make up for everything he missed and really wanting to protect Tony Stark's legacy.
Right. Well, anyways, I mean, I just think that there's more to do with him.
100%.
And I think
Absolutely.
Iron Man 3 has been an underrated movie because there's a lot of really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I mean,
but
I don't
yeah,
think
well,
it's
let's
I don't
move
think it's
on.
perfect. I don't think it's perfect by any means. Like I said, like if you really look at how like final they make everything at the end and he blows up all of his suits and like
Right.
it's a sign of growth, but as far if you think about everything else that Iron Man does after this movie, it's not the greatest. It just doesn't make sense to be so much finality. And I think it's much better is just when they deal with Iron Man still processing from Avengers. I think that's where we get really good Tony Stark stuff, and I really like this movie a lot.
His whole arc is about how he reacts to things and the kind of hero he wants to be.
Yeah.
And I don't see this final moment in Iron Man 3 as him deciding not to be a hero. I think
No.
it's him deciding that he needs to change how he does it again. Because, in Iron Man 1, he's fighting for... He's trying to do good. He's changing who he wants to be. He's deciding to be a hero.
Yeah.
Iron Man 2, he's realizing that he can't just worry about his own ego. He's got to worry about other people. Avengers gives him the big shift where it's like, okay, the world is in danger. Now I have to protect the world.
Right.
And then in this one, it's like, okay, I can protect the world, but I can't do it at the cost of my own sanity.
Yeah, and my
And so
suits
I
need to
see-
be more than my suits, and they can't be a crutch.
Right. And so I see that final scene, and those final scenes really, as just him deciding that Iron Man isn't going to define him. He's more than that, but it's still very much a part of him. And
Yeah.
we see him go back and forth on that. Like in Civil War, he and Pepper aren't together because he's dove so much into his Tony Stark personality.
Yeah, but
and
don't you
protecting other people.
Right, but don't you think that's kind of like walking back Iron Man 3 a little bit where he's like I wanted to stop but I couldn't stop. It's like I think what he says to Captain America.
Yeah, well, I think that's incredibly relatable and human.
No, it
Like,
is.
how
It
many
is.
of us want to make a change in our lives and fail the first few times?
Yeah, no, I think yes, it is incredibly relatable and human. I also think that's Marvel Studios maybe walking some of those character decisions back a little bit to keep
Sure.
Iron Man's story going in more of a way that makes sense for the franchise as a whole. But anyways, that's Iron Man 3.
Yep, Iron Man 3. There you go. Watch it if you haven't watched it already. We're going to move on to some news. What do you got for us, Kevin?
Yeah, just couple of things. Daredevil episodes 2 and 3 released this week, and they were amazing.
Great, phenomenal show. I love
Really
it.
cool. They did a great One of those classic one-shot action scenes. Really well done. Just across the board, the show is really good, and I'm absolutely loving it. So that's been going on. They released a brand new trailer for Supergirl, which I really liked.
Looks really interesting.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Woman of Tomorrow is one of my favorite comic book storylines, which is what a lot of this movie is based on. I'm excited for Jason Momoa's Lobo. He looks great. I think he's going to do the character just as well as we all know and have always known that he will. But yeah, that's going to be really fun when that releases. End of June. Yeah, end of June.
Yeah, it's coming up.
It's crazy. But yeah, that's those are kind of the big things like superhero news wise this week.
All right.
I think
we'll
wrap
looking
things
forward
up.
to let's wrap it up. Let's look forward to next week where we're watching Thor: The Dark World. Remember to watch that before you come back if you don't want any spoilers. But thank you for watching, and we will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Super Rant Season 1 Doomsday Preppers. Look out for our following episode next Friday. And remember to watch the upcoming movie before listening. You can find a link to our watch schedule on our YouTube page.